Hello. This is a how-to for the case study that you're going to do in your child development class. Let me pull up all the criteria. Okay, so here it is. Down in here, we've got the child development case study. This is an 8-week case study, and you have much more time than that to get it done because there's some weeks you may not be able to go. Either the child's not there that week or you're doing something else that week. Who knows? This is not due until the 23rd of November, right? The week before Thanksgiving. Okay. So if you're an early childhood major, you are going to do an 8-week observation, one observation per week on a child that's between the ages of 3 and 8. So anywhere from pre-K through 3rd grade. If you're an elementary ed major, you're going to observe a child between the ages of 6 and adolescence. And so you're going to pick someone that's from 1st grade through 8th grade. So there you have it. I want it to be relevant to your age group. And you can observe a child in your own classroom. You don't have to go anywhere. So if you teach, that's fine. Just have one child that you're going to do a little more observing on than, I know you observe everybody, but a little more than usual. Okay. You don't need any consents for this because you're literally, if you are just coming in the room to observe a child, you're literally sitting in the back of the room, just watching everybody and just observing. You're going to write a report at the end of this. It'll be APA format, double spaced, headings for each of the sections below that are underlined here, and accurate grammar and spelling. You don't need a reference page. This is an observation-based case study. And make sure that you really take a close look at the grading rubric before turning in your case study. So I'll take you there before we get out of this video. All right, you're going to start off with your introduction. Make sure you use a pseudonym. We don't need to know the child's name. Explain why you selected the child. And, don't pick the best kid in the class. It's much more interesting if you pick a child that's, maybe struggling a little bit. Also, you might want to tell just as much about the child as you can without giving away anything really confidential. Next, you're going to go to the hypothesis. This section is interesting because this is what you expect to find. You could write this section today before you even observe the child because this is normative findings. What would you normally expect to find in a 1st grader for cognitive development, social emotional development, and physical development? There you go. And the same thing for any of the other age groups. Where do you find this? Well, you find it in your textbook. If you are doing one on early childhood, it's going to be in the Trawick textbook. If you're doing one on an adolescent, it's going to be in the adolescent textbook, just so you can write this before you ever begin your observations, if you want. Next, you're going to have some data collection. You will collect a few pieces. There are going to be a minimum of 3 different data collection methods. You can use, get drawings, take pictures. You don't want to collect them. You just take a, picture of the drawing. You can take a picture of writing samples. You can take a picture of a test, but there won't be a name on it. So you won't know, no one that looks at it could identify who did the test. Same thing with checklists. Your field journal with all your notes, that's actually one data collection method. So you've already achieved that if you've taken notes, which I hope you have. And make sure that you have a minimum of 3, but 4 is what you need in order to get your most points on this section in the journal, in the rubric. So if you want all points on that, you'll have 4 data collection methods or 4 samples as well of something that you've collected. Data analysis for each domain. Once you've done all 8 observations, then you're going to be able to analyze your findings. Make sure you have subheaders that say, cognitive data analysis, social emotional data analysis, and physical data analysis, so that you're really explaining in detail what knowledge and skills is this child developing or not, maybe, for each of the domains. And then you have to separate this out, compare and contrast your findings with what you wrote about normative development for each domain up in here under the hypothesis. If your hypothesis said XYZ about cognitive development for a first grader, but when you observed the first grader, this is what you observed, how was it the same compared? And how was it different contrasted? And then you come down to dispositions. You know, children develop all kinds of dispositions as they grow up. Some of them become very curious. Some of them are very creative. Some of them are really resourceful, and so on and so forth. What dispositions is this child developing or not? And then the last part is the recommendations section. Based on your findings, what are your specific recommendations to help the child reach the optimum potential for each of the domains? What dispositions would you really like to foster in this child, and how would you go about doing so? If you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. I'm going to take you out of this and go down in here. Let me put it in student preview real quick, because that way you'll see it exactly the way it is on your screen. Okay, so you notice this is going to be all the way down here under work week 14. You've got this whole week off to finish it. Okay, so you go in here, view instructions, and you can see the instructions. You can also see the grading rubric. And here it is. You can pull down introduction, and here it is in detail. Hypotheses, data collection. Notice the artifacts, 4+ artifacts for exceeds, 3 artifacts for meets, 2 artifacts for approaches. Artifacts would be the pictures, whatever it is that you collected. Recommendations. Notice for exceeds, step-by-step directions on your recommendations. Dispositions, mechanics. Here we go, the data analysis for each of the sections. Very detailed. It's a big 100-point assignment, and I want you to be really successful on it. So if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I will be happy to set up a Zoom appointment. Have a great week. Bye-bye.